Hello, and welcome to Jason Cavness Experience. I'm your host, Jason Cavness. Our guest today is Josh Bieler. Josh, are you ready to be great today?
Yes.
Josh started his career as an officer in the U.S. Air Force, working in acquisitions, operations, and finance for the U.S. Satellite Launch Program at Air Force Space Command, as well as the Air Force Propulsion Laboratory. After military service, Josh worked in the telecommunications industry from 2007 to 2016. He started on the finance side before moving into business development and operations. Last serving as COO for a company with operations in 19 states and the oversight of products in Italy and Korea. After consulting for several years, Josh started Vector Services and Vector Force Development to provide opportunities to military veterans in the utility and energy industries. Since Vector's beginning in 2016, Josh has grown the company to national recognition with operations over 25 states and 4 operating divisions. Josh, thanks for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So Josh, what do you focus on right now?
So right now we have 4 divisions in 2 different companies, Vector Force Development, Vector Services, and now we're in 30 states. I know as of that bio is 25, but we've grown out to 30 states, and it's really just trying to maximize the opportunities that we have available to provide the transitioning veterans. I mean, there's close to 9,000 vets getting out every month, and they all need work, or if they want to do something, after they get out of that service. So we're there to provide that.
So Josh, I'm gonna change the subject real fast.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what you do as far as like being a youth basketball coach and soccer coach, like why you got involved with that, how long you been doing it, and why it's important to you to give back to the community like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have 3 kids. My son, Caden, 16. Then I have a daughter, Sienna. She's 13, and a daughter, Logan, who is going to be 12 here. And they all do sports, and all compete high level. I grew up playing basketball and soccer, and ended up playing soccer at the U.S. Air Force Academy. So that was a big part of my life. And then when I got out and had kids, I wanted to coach, is kind of giving back. They needed some help, and for one of the leagues that my son was in, and that's where it started.
So what ages or grades do you coach?
I've coached anywhere from 5 years old all the way up to college level.
I know you saw where the World Cup's gonna be played in Seattle, I think in 2026.
Yes,
I know you.
saw that. I was like, I'm ready.
I know you're gonna
I'm
take it
ready
on
to get some tickets. Yeah, I'm ready to go. That's gonna be exciting.
Yes. And how long you been coaching again?
I've been coaching off and on for probably 15 years.
So here's a question: is it harder or easier to coach the older the people get?
It's probably it depends. It's when you're young, you're just managing attention spans. When they get into middle school, you're kind of managing emotions, and then as they get older and become better and more competitive, it's more or less managing egos. So it's a little bit different, and there's difficulties and similarities all throughout.
You ever think about maybe in the past, not now, of course, but maybe in the past, like doing coaching full time?
No, it's really been just kind of volunteer, giving back. I mean, there's always opportunities. I know the different programs that we work with always need volunteers. So I'm interested in continuing to do that for sure.
And I know you're big on servitude. Can you talk about your concept of servitude? What's important to you?
Yeah, I mean, the reason why Vector started was, my idea of giving back, right? So I was in the military, worked in the Air Force, and a big there you go through these hard times, you go through these tough situations with your brothers and sisters in the military, and you see different things, you see different suffering throughout the world, you see all those types of things, and people they're serving as a military member, you're serving our country, right? So you're providing this service. And then a big part of Vector is, hey, these guys, these men and women serve while they're in the military, And then when they get out, how are we serving them when they come back into the society, into the civilian workforce? How are we helping them? So, a big part of why I started this was to really give back, give back to those people that did help, and provide us with these freedoms that we do have, and they're out there giving their lives and giving their service to us. So why shouldn't we give our service back to them? And it starts with that. And a big part of our core values is service, and I mean, our motto is rooted in service, driven by discipline. And so service really is a part of our culture and what we live by. And that goes out into all the different programs that we're a part of outside of Vector, veteran programs, working with our community, our social responsibility to the communities that we're a part of. That's a big part of who we are and what our culture is.
Josh, have you always been like this? Like, you remember being like this at an early age? Is something your parents instilled in you, or just something you like grew up and like decided like, hey, this is the type of person I want to be?
Well, I was a firstborn. So I don't know if, I don't know if that goes into it a little bit, but I remember, my parents wanting to, make my parents proud, wanting to help out, wanting to kind of help my brother and sister. I had a younger sister, younger brother. So maybe it stemmed out of that. I mean, everybody grows up and goes through good times, bad times, lessons learned. I mean, I know I was probably selfish throughout parts of my life, but I've always been a person that likes to see other people doing well and happy and feeling good about themselves. So I think that's a big part of it.
Can you tell us? Can you tell us about why you decided to apply to the U.S. Air Force Academy? The process behind that decision.
Yeah. So, like I said, I grew up playing soccer. So I really wanted to, continue that career in competitive soccer. And so, I was recruited by different colleges, and the Air Force Academy was one of them. They're a D1 program, and they're pretty competitive. When I was in high school and looking at different opportunities, and I knew I wanted to get away from where my family was, just to.
And were you here in Washington at that time?
I was in Washington at the time. I grew up in Southern California, and then my sophomore year we moved up to Seattle. My dad got a different job, so we moved up here, and I was playing up here. So, I had opportunities at like University of Washington, SPU, those types of places. But I wanted to give out, and my grandpa was in the Korean War, and I was very close with him, and he passed away when I was 16. So I remember always wanting to, make him proud in his eyes. And I know he was big on the military and stuff like that. And so I thought it was a good opportunity. I was proud of getting accepted, and I didn't go in like a lot of people wanting to be a pilot. That could have been an option, but it wasn't something I was just grew up, wanting to be a pilot. So I got there and really grew into, just the camaraderie that you learn, the discipline. I really fell into that part of it, and really latched on to learning about leadership and how that worked. And so it wasn't, you hear the cliche stories of, my grandpa and my father and my great grandfather were all in the military, and I was following their footsteps. That wasn't necessarily the case. My grandpa or my father and mother, they weren't in the military or anything like that. But my grandpa was drafted in Korean War, and I knew I wanted to impress him in his eyes a little bit.
And how many years did you end up doing it in the Air Force?
So I did 6 years active.
And you're still actually in, right?
I'm still in the reserves. Yeah, I did 6 years active. I got out in 2007, and then came back in the reserves in 2012.
I guess you go to JBLM for that? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. And what position do you play in soccer?
I was a midfield forward. So I played center mid sometimes, outside mid, sometimes forward.
Yeah, I know one thing like soccer, like it's not really a popular in the United States like it should be, but like
It's growing though.
It's growing.
You go to those games, you go to Sounders game, they're packed.
Yeah,
It's a blast.
I know a lot of people say, "Oh, soccer's boring," but soccer is like only sport I know where there's activity going all the time, right? There's no breaks,
You're running
there's
all the time.
There's something going on all the time. So it's it's actually a lot of fun to go watch it.
Yeah, they're a blast. Yeah, no timeouts. So
and
it's always
and you got to be in a little bit of shape too.
Yeah,
unless you're the goalie, of course.
That's right. Even then, man, you got to be in shape. You got to be, flexible and be able to play.
So on soccer, like it's like the U.S. women's team is always kicking butt, dominating, always top to top. The U.S. men's team, not so much, right? Why do you think that is from your point of view? That's like, I mean, the talent has to be there, right, for both sides. I don't understand that.
The talent's there, and I'm not sure. I think, I believe, they're at the top. How we run the programs and how it goes, how we train from youth going up, and really kind of given. I mean, we have the population, right, and we know there's great players out there, but do they have the opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, there's all these youth soccer leagues, like 5, 6, 8, 9 years old, but then
they're expensive. Too,
yeah, they are.
So
yeah.
like, can people that have the talent afford it?
Yeah.
And so, I think there's opportunities. I don't know too much specifics why, but I think there's opportunities to give people that might not have the means ample room to play.
Yes. So let's talk about this. I thought this was very interesting. So I can't remember where I found this. Maybe Google search on LinkedIn or somewhere. But you were part of a program that launched the first 9 rockets of the Air Force Expendable Launch Vehicle program.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it was. So I was working, it's called the EELV program. And it's now the United Launch Alliance. So the way I explain it now is SpaceX. So everybody knows what SpaceX is. Everybody knows what Elon Musk does, and they launch satellites into space. So I worked on, there used to be the Delta program, the Atlas program with Lockheed and Boeing made different rockets, and the EELV program was an expendable launch vehicle, and it was a competing launch every time. So Boeing and Lockheed both competed for every launch with their rockets, and they both had 3 size rockets to launch different satellite payloads. And so out of that program, I joined in 2001. So I was a part of the first 9 launches that happened in that program. So it was pretty impressive, pretty exciting. I think we launched some GPS, some satellites, GPS satellites, some SBIRS satellites, weather satellites, those types of things. So it's exciting.
Is that program still going on?
It's still going on. Yeah. So now it's called the United Launch Alliance.
Okay.
And they're doing that now.
What's something about the Air Force like the No More America might not know, right? Like something like because Air Force, I was Army Air Force, like high tech, kind of, sit in your chair, take vacations, but then like high tech, you want the air support, smarter than most people, What's something about Air Force?
Well, there's a few things. One is, and another big part of like why we started Vector is I had some members that passed away in service, right? And that affected me a lot. And one of those guys was Derek Argel, who was one of my roommates while I was at the academy, and he was one of the toughest guys you've ever met. The biggest badass guys you've seen, and he was special operations. So a lot of people don't understand, like, the Air Force has people to go with Delta Force, to go with the Navy SEALs, to go with all those types of high visibility or people know popular type teams, and Air Force has combat controllers to go around with them, to call in air support or whatever it may be. And so he went through the SEAL type training, he went through like pipeline, he did all that kind of stuff. So the Air Force does have that. The other thing that people don't know about is, and this is in direct relation to what we're doing at Vector, is there's so many different skill sets within the Air Force, from like people doing accounting or people doing finance to engineering to cyber warfare, or software development, or all that kind of stuff. And it's not just flying, right? And then the other thing, it's like, it's pilots, Air Force pilots. Well, for every flight that goes on, there's 50 people involved to make that flight happen. So it's not just one person flying the plane. It's 50 people that make that happen. And there's, that's a lot of different support, a lot of different things going on. And, the Space Force just happened, but Air Force is still part of that, right? So there's that touch points there too. So.
And so you also do some stuff. I think you're like an Air Force Liaison with high school students to help them apply to Air Force.
Yeah, so
like
so there's an Air Force Liaison officer, which is, so there's the academies. There's the Air Force Academy. There's West Point. There's Annapolis for the Navy. And to get into those, you need, a senator or congressman's recommendation, and you also have to go through an interview process with an ex Air Force officer, right? And that's your liaison. So you help, kind of mentor high school students that want to go to the Air Force Academy, want to go to ROTC, want to go that way, and then you'll interview them, provide feedback both to them and to the Academy on, do you recommend this person to go to the Air Force?
So how does this work? Like, do you still have to get some kind of letter from like a U.S. senator or something?
Yes. Yeah. You still got to get that nomination.
So is it from a U.S. senator or congressman?
Or a congressman.
Either one?
Yeah. Or the vice president or the president. Okay. So those are rare, right?
Yeah. So how does this work? Like, like suppose you're from like a rich high school, have connections, but then you're from like, for like an inner city poor neighborhood, right? Like, how does that work, right? It's not like it'd be like kind of tiered unfairly, like the rich school versus the poor school.
Well, it's by, every location kind of has their representation. So it's not like you're only getting represented in this school. Like everybody kind of has a good opportunity. It's, it's not necessarily who right? Because they want, in the military, you want someone that's
the best of the best, regardless.
Best of the best, regardless, and that's all around, right? It's like you don't just want a 1600, or I don't know what the top scores of an SAT. It used to be 1600.
I know,
right? But I don't know.
It's a different number now. Yeah,
whatever it is. You don't want that perfect score, straight A student that that has no social skills or doesn't have any athletic ability or anything. You want someone well-rounded, right? So we look, that people that have some athletic background, have some musical background, have some, are have good grades, have, but also a big thing that we're looking at is what type of leadership have they, have they started have they served on a nonprofit? Do they do volunteer work, in their local community? What kind of things do they do outside of those things that show leadership? A lot of people are like, oh, I was a captain of a team. Well, were you a captain because you're a senior and you're automatically a captain because you're a senior, or did the coaches and your fellow teammates nominate you because of your leadership? Those types of things. So a big, like that liaison officer, what I did, a big part of our questions are, can this person be a leader? Do they have that in their background? Do they have those capabilities? Those are the type of things that they're always looking for. So in a roundabout way, to answer your questions, like the best of the best kind of bubble up, no matter where they're at, right? And we want, whether they're in the inner city or, we had people, classmates at the academy from, a town of 300 in the middle of Montana. Someone got there, and there's only so many nominations, within that area. So it's I don't think it's
pretty fair.
Yeah, pretty fair.
Yeah. As much as it can be, of course. So you might not know the answer to this, but what percentage of the population, like 14, 18, is actually eligible for the Air Force? Like, because I know like some people may be overweight, some people might already have records, some already be like have no drug use, or the case may be. Like, what percent is actually eligible?
That's I don't know. That's a good question. I know, depending on what you want to do, right? So, and weight wise, I think if you're able to pass, the physical fitness test, you could pass. I don't know for sure. There's so many different things, like pilot qualification. That's a whole nother story. you got to have perfect eyes. You have to have, no heart murmur, anything like that. Right. And so, but if you're going to be a finance officer, you're going to be doing that might be something different. Right. So I don't know what the percentage is on.
Okay.
And I know like the Army has different requirements if you're going to enlist. The Navy has different requirements. The Air Force has different requirements going
The
in.
Army's like, you got to pause. Come on in.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I have a lot of Army guys that work with me, and so we're always teasing each other.
Yeah, definitely.
It's higher requirement to get into the Air Force.
Yeah, definitely. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. So talk about your experience of overseeing projects like the United States, Italy, Korea, like the challenges of that, the collaboration they do, like how does that work?
So say that again.
So talk about the challenges of like overseeing projects in Italy, Korea,
Oh yeah.
United States. Like how do you work through that?
Yeah. So this was way before COVID. So there's none of that type of social constraints that we had. But a big part of it was a lot of travel, a lot of just communication and setting up the projects that we were doing beforehand. So making sure that we built out the leadership team that was actually going to be on the ground in Italy, in Korea, when we did those projects, and really doing multiple check-ins, with them. And a lot of it was being able to communicate at odd hours, right? Like, if we weren't in Italy, we're having meetings with Italy at, in the middle of the night sometimes. Same with Korea, but a big part of it was with establishing that team that you're going to trust that they're going to be on the ground and they're going to be doing what you guys set in line before you even get started. And then it's just check-ins after that.
So in the Air Force, what was your favorite duty station and then your least favorite duty station?
I would say probably my favorite was Edwards Air Force Base. I worked out in the Air Force Propulsion Laboratory, which was way out in the middle of the desert, which originally when I thought I was going to go there, I thought I was going to hate it, just because you're out in the middle of the desert. And, but, it's a test base, so they have every plane there. They landed the last shuttle there when I was there. So it was just a lot of opportunity, a lot of things to learn, a lot of different technologies that were there that we got to see. And there's a lot of history, from what we did with a lot of the shuttles, with a lot of our different planes that we've developed over time. A lot of that was tested out there. So that was great. And then the other station that I liked, but it was different, was Los Angeles Air Force Base. It's a great location, right by the beach in El Segundo there. But I was out there during 9/11, which was tough because we're opposite coast of New York, but LAX was always worried that I was going to be a target. So right after that happened, that was tough to deal with there. And there's no planes, it's office building, so doesn't have the feel of a real military base.
Yeah, I know as an Army, it's like all my friends like states like will say like place folks that do bad assignments, right? Fort Drum, they loved it, right?
Yeah.
People, friends had like you think Hawaii, everyone in Hawaii just hated it, right?
I will say I probably Shepherd Air Force Base, Wichita Falls in Texas. That was probably the worst. Because it was Wichita Falls. You picture, some beautiful, but it's like a man-made brown waterfall. I'm going to get a lot of heat for that, but it wasn't, it's a training base out there. It was, I think it was, the winters were really cold, and then it just got
people don't realize
hot.
up at the Panhandle, it's really cold. Snows up there, Wichita, Amarillo. People don't realize like how cold it gets up there.
So
that blizzard's up there.
That was a rough station.
So next, your company is a service-disabled veteran-owned business.
Yep.
First of all, can you talk about the process of getting that distinction, like how hard it is? And is it really worth it? Like, what do you really get a benefit from doing that? Or is this like, hype?
No, it's so veteran-owned business, it's, you're majority owned by a veteran, right? And so getting that is there's third parties that do it. The National Veteran Business Development Council is the one that we use, and they do certifications as through third party audits to verify that, yeah, you are indeed a veteran owned business. And a big part of that is making sure, the veteran is a part of the business, making day-to-day decisions, helping with all the hiring, understanding, the financials and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of interviews and everything involved. And the DoD also does their own certification too, through the VIP program, and it's the CVE, which that certification, and we're certified with them too. And that's, the federal government does the same type of thing. And there's questions and audits that you go through on that's every 3 years, and then our third parties every year. And so it is beneficial from a business standpoint, because from government contracting, they're set asides, right? So this contract, the government's only going to use a veteran owned business or services sales veteran owned business. So those set aside contracts. But there's also a supplier diversity route with, different customers that they want to work with veteran owned businesses. They want to work with minority owned businesses. They want to work with woman owned businesses. There's that supplier diversity aspect that helps with a competitive standpoint. So if, we're a company that does this service and we're competing with someone that doesn't have any of those certifications, well, we have that leg up because we promote their supplier diversity, their social responsibility to the community and stuff like that. So it is definitely a benefit, is definitely helpful, and opening the door, with a lot of companies as a veteran owned business. It's like, okay, let's talk, let's see what you got to offer.
So what percentage of the business someone have to own? Like, if there's like 54%, 51%.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm sure it to be some kind of bureaucratic stuff to go through, but all that bureaucratic stuff is actually worth it in the end.
It is worth it. Yeah, for sure.
Nice. And then there's something called the Department of Labor Hire Vets Platinum Medallion Award that you won recently. Can you talk about that, what that is?
Yeah, so that's with the Department of Labor. They do annual look at the companies that are really committed to hiring veterans and employing veterans. And they look at, how many veterans have you hired over the last year? How many veterans are you currently employing? How many veterans, are still with you after you hired? So that retention of your employees, and they look at all that stuff, and then award different companies if they meet, certain standards and certain expectations and are committed to those veterans and employing those vets and have the programs in place to ensure that they can succeed when they come work for your company. And so we won that. Yeah, we won that last year, 2021. I don't think it's come out this year, but I know we were asked to apply again for that.
So is there any benefit you get from the company besides like getting an award or naming the paper, like any kind of financial benefit or like some kind of tax cut or anything like that? Or is this mainly like a PR thing, so to speak?
It's a PR, and it's, and it
helps you recruit veterans, obviously.
It helps us recruit veterans, and I mean, it kind of shows that
the type of company you
walk the walk
Mhm.
too. There's a lot, you'll see a lot of companies that just have that veteran friendly stamp out there, and
the sticker
doesn't really mean anything.
We're going to hire 1,000 people in veterans in 5 years.
Yeah, that's it's more than that. So we've proven that with that, it's a proof to what we're talking about, right? We do. I mean, our vision's centered around providing opportunities for veterans, and so we're doing that. And so it's kind of a proof that we are committed to those veterans.
So is it 2 companies or just 1 company?
It's 2 companies.
Okay.
Yeah, we do the same services. It depends on our location, and whether we're providing union labor or not.
And you're the CEO of both of them, correct?
Yes.
And so do you have like 2 staff each company, or does the same staff run both companies?
No, it's 2 separate staff.
Okay.
We have COs in different company, and it's our veteran or vector services primarily in the north, East states, where we got a lot of union work, and then our vector force developments in the Midwest and down south.
So I'm gonna presume you're a pretty organized person then.
I am. Yeah, like I got a lot of help. I'm kind of all over the place, but yeah, making sure everything's organized is a definite need, especially with travel. Because I'm all over the place.
Yeah. And everything's done in the United States. Everything like in other countries, or it's all in the United States.
All United States. Yep.
And you're in 30 states now.
30 states.
So, and you started the company back in 2016, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, it sounded like you had a lot of like fast growth. Like,
yeah.
How did you go so fast? How do you manage the growth? And then more importantly, like with your cultural vision you had when you first started, how do you make sure the new people you hired on later on, like, had the same vision? Because obviously you need for everyone now, right? So how does that work?
Right. So, yeah, I mean, and that's a big learning experience with the growth, right? So, we started out, and it's the big part of our success was the human capital that we had, the right people we had, on the team, and then our partnership. So, I mean, having the right partner is instrumental, and, from a company standpoint, having the right customers from a company standpoint is instrumental in that growth. I mean, a lot of people, when you first start out a company, it's like any customer out there that you could get, you're like, yeah, I'll take it. But then you got to learn that you could say no to, you could fire a customer.
Yeah, all money's not good money,
that's
right?
right. That's right. And so it's making sure you have the right customers, the right partnerships, strategic partnerships that you can collaborate, that you see eye to eye, and you guys have the same ideas on what that vision is and what you want to do. And we had that, and that really helped provide those opportunities to grow, the way we wanted to. And then managing that growth, that's a different story. And that's where that human capital comes in, because it is, it's like, managing a raised garden bed. You got, I start the company, and I plant the seeds, I give them the right food, I give them the right sun, I give them the right water, and then they are all doing great. And we start another bed, we start another bed, and you start another bed. And I can't be doing that everywhere. So you hire the right person that's you trust, that you're going to trust on the ground, to make sure that your vision and the quality, the service that you provide, the safety that you provide, that, and those core values that you've set up, that you trust that they're going to go do that same thing. And it's a big, growth mindset is that trust, because a lot of times, as you started the company, you want to have your hand in on everything, but you really can't if you want to grow correctly, right? So you really have to build out trust into your employees and into those team members that they're going to do the right thing, and that's important to sustain that growth, because you can't do it all.
And how many people do you have at both companies right now?
700.
700. Well,
yeah. So it's grown a lot.
Yes. And so what's your philosophy on this? Like a lot of people say, as far as like hiring people and firing, like a lot of people say, hire slow, fire fast, right? Yeah. My thing is like, no one fires fast, right? Because there's always, well, we can't fire Jason, it's his birthday, or, or the holidays coming up.
It's hard because, you kind of, and it's something I've grown to learn too, right? Where we say it's fail fast. All right. So if something's failing, whether it's, an employee that's not performing, whether it's a division, a service, a business line that you're doing, and it's not working out, shut down, move on. And that's kind of like what we communicate. And, you build up these relationships, you build up these, partnerships with, different employees and stuff. And it sometimes can be hard, because it's counterintuitive to, being loyal. And sometimes you think, well, if they're not performing, maybe it's me, or maybe it's that manager, or whatever it is. But a lot of times you just have to make that decision and move on. And yes, we in our company we call it fail fast. And so if it's not working out, and if they have all the resources, that's the first thing. Make sure they have all the resources to do what they're supposed to do. If they do and it's still not working, then it's time to move on.
So what's your take on this? This is my personal opinion. Feel free to push back. But my time in the Army, my couple of post-Army jobs, working my own startup, it seems like, if you're very fortunate, you have like 10-20% of people who come like really like adding value, trying to make themselves better. Now the rest of them, I'm not saying they're messing up, but like they're doing like, if you tell them to work 9 to 5, they work 9 to 5. If you tell them to do 1, 2, 3, to do 1, 2, 3, right? Even if you do number 4, gets them a raise, right? Have you found the same thing, or what do you think? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, I believe everybody has something to offer, right? So it's finding, and with our company, we have jobs where, you're on the ground holding a flag for our traffic control, and we have, CFOs, COOs, engineers, accounting, right? And so all those, it takes a different skill set, or it takes different type of person. We need the creative people that might not be organized, or that might not, count their pennies to every penny, right? They're not counting every penny, but they're out there thinking about new ways to do our services safer, or thinking about better way, a new opportunity within one of our business lines. Or we got, our accountants, or we got, people on the ground, and it's yeah, there's some people that are always trying to go above and beyond, right? And they rise fast. You see it, and it's, and they take on more, and it's like, and they build trust faster.
Yes,
is what
yeah,
it is,
definitely.
right? So they
Yeah.
build trust faster. So, wherever they are in the business, it's like whoever they're working for, like, oh, I trust, I'm going to give that person more stuff to do. And, then they get more experiences, and they grow and blossom. And, some people are there just to work, and that's what they want. And,
That's fine.
they're doing their 9 to 5 and getting their paycheck, and they're doing great at it,
Yep.
and so, but it does take a constant communication, because maybe that guy's doing what he's supposed to do, but he does want to move up, but he's not the type of person that is going to communicate that. So that's, we always try to stress, like, get to know your employees, so you make sure you don't want him one day just quitting, because then you never knew he was unhappy, or that person was unhappy. So it's just, constant communication up and down.
So next, let's talk professional development. And so I want to break it down in several questions, right? So first, I want to talk about how you professionally develop yourself, make sure like you do what you need to do. Then how do you professionally develop your direct reports and your like people below them in the whole company? Like, how do you break that down?
Yeah. So, I mean, I believe, and I know the managers and the leaders in our company believe, that you never want to hold anybody back, no matter what position they're in. If they want to educate themselves to improve, we support that 100%. So myself I was always, I got my degree at the Air Force Academy, got my MBA at Pepperdine. There's a lot of different required trainings that you got to do while you're in the military, so there's all those. And then there was different classes I was just curious in, where, whether it was, a different economic class I would take, a night class, just off the beaten path type thing, or, I wanted to learn more about Excel, or, just simple things like that. Is this always kind of wanting to learn. And I never wanted to not be able to talk about something I was telling someone else, right? So, for my personal development, that it was just that curiosity, where it's like, that guy's good at that. I want to be able to talk to him about it. I'm going to go take a class on that, or something like that. And then within like my direct reports and stuff like that, a lot of them, I mean, we have people that are interested in, growing from an ops to, learning more on the financial side, or wanting to know how to run a P&L, or, they're running a P&L and they want to learn ops. And, I think the more you learn, the more you're reading, or, it just helps you as a person. And so we do have, we have leadership classes that we do amongst our partnership. We have supervision classes. We have a bunch of different safety courses that we offer and provide. And then we have partnerships with different colleges, where, any of our employees could go and get, this whatever training they want to do, and we'll help support that.
So do you think being a military veteran entrepreneur has been an advantage or disadvantage?
I think it's been an advantage for sure. I think just well, there's numerous things what I think I learned. One is learning how to fail, because when you're in the military, you're
Yeah.
humbled, right?
I tell people all the time,
Yeah,
military does nothing else. It teaches you to get knocked down 10, get up 11. Doesn't
that's
teach you
right.
nothing
That's
else.
right.
It'll
You're
teach
getting
you
knocked
that.
down all the time, whether it's going through basic training or failing at a mission, whatever it may be. But you're learning how to keep going, and that's how you learn, right? By failing, by understanding why you fail, like making mistakes. That's how you learn. So I mean, starting a business is not easy, right? And I've always been entrepreneurial, and I've started and failed businesses, and learned what I needed, what I didn't need, and then been successful with Vector now. But also the discipline part of it, right? It's you got to get up and grind. You got to get up and grind, and
Yeah, it's
you
hard to
can't not. You
yeah,
can't.
it's hard to successful only working 9 to 5. I would
That's
think,
right. And it's not ever looking at the clock. It's just like, I have to get this done. You have to get that done. And then it's prioritizing, how that looks across your life, right? So it's like, yeah, you have a family, you got to donate time to them. You have this company, this work, you got to donate time to them, and it's being able to compartmentalize and really dedicate yourself to each aspects of that, and I think I learned that a lot of that, and that discipline, that kind of service to others in the military, for sure. And I think that's helped a lot.
So talk about this. I think a lot of people don't talk about this enough as far as being an entrepreneur. I mean, life still goes on, right? Like you're still like, you have a wife, you have kids, you got social obligations, other family members. I mean, you're probably washing your clothes, cutting grass, like,
All that, yeah.
taking the oil car to get service, like all that stuff still has to happen, right? It's
That's
like,
right.
it's not like we're Elon Musk, that's some kind of personal service, right?
That's right.
So how do you like manage all that?
It's yeah, I mean, it gets hard, especially with the travel, right? So I mean, the biggest thing for me is I want to make sure I'm giving the people that are important in my life the time that they deserve. So, I don't want to be this person that's on the road, 300 days out of the year, and, all of a sudden my kids are graduating from high school and college, and I don't know who they are, right? So I want to be able to focus on that. And really, it's a balance, right? And I mean, it's one of our core values that we provide. And I think, if people are happy with their family life, then they're going to be better employees. And so I know that with myself too. If I'm overly, stressed at home because I'm not, being a part of whatever, or I'm not able to commit to where I want, then I'm going to bring that to work, and I'm going to be hurting at, that job. Or if I'm, at work and I'm not doing the best that I can, then I'm going to bring in that stress back to home too. And that's never going to work. And so it's really like being organized, and a lot of the stuff like mowing the lawn, like, that day to day, you kind of like doing that, right? It's almost like, all right, this is
Like
get my mind off things. Yeah.
You cut your brain off a little bit.
You cut your brain off a little bit, and you're committed just to that, that task at the time, and it kind of helps out. And it's really looking at it that way, not like, oh, I have to do this, but it's like, okay, I'm going to, get this done. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get this done. And, being able to, when I'm coming home, or I've been traveling, I come back and I'm, watching one of my kids play a game or something, you're just focused on that. And it makes it that much more special. And then, when you go to a conference or something with work, you're focused on that, and you're that much dedicated. You don't have to worry about things. So it's really just making sure you actually put in the time, to all aspects of your life, and making sure you do that. And sometimes you got to sacrifice. That's why you have great people on board, right? You guys, sometimes, like, I don't have to be there. I'll have, one of our employees or one of our other leaders could handle that, or I don't have to be there, So it's just that balance, and building that community, right, to support.
So do you think you work more hours now or back when you were in the Air Force? Or about the same?
Um, I don't know. I'd say I'm a lot more efficient now, right? So there's a lot of stuff back when I was in the Air Force. It was like, you have to go sit at that desk, or you have to, different, depending on where I was at in the Air Force. But a lot of times it's desk work, right? Where you're at a desk, you're there from 7 to 5 at night, and you're in your meetings, you're doing your computer work, or whatever it may, you're on your phone calls. But a lot of times you're just sitting there and you're like waiting for time to go by, right? And it's like they try, depending on where you're at. And, now it's just more efficient where, we could get this done in 30 minutes versus 90 minutes, so why are we scheduling, a 90-minute meeting? We could get this done. And so I think it's become, I probably work the same, but I'm getting a lot more done
more
now,
efficient.
just because it's more efficient, and I know what I should be doing. There's a lot in the Air Force or in the military, especially as when you're younger, kind of learning. There's a lot of stuff you do because you're told to do it, but it's not necessarily moving things forward, on a different project or something like that. So I think now I'm probably working the same amount of time, and it goes up and down depending on.
Yeah, I know people ask me a lot. Sometimes you go back to the Army, I don't know, it wasn't that bad. Then I remember CQ, staff duty, 24-hour duty.
Yeah. And I mean, I was, after 9/11, things changed where I was at, because we had to take on like augmentee duty. So then, we're working almost 18 hours, straight, and then you have a few hours off, then you come back and do, your acquisition job, finance job, stuff like that. And, so that part was crazy. I'm not, you don't have that type of stuff as much. And then I'm planning my schedule a lot more, whereas when you're in the military, a lot of it's kind of planned for you, where, it's like, you're going to be here, you got to go to training, from this date to this date, you got to go do this and this. And, now it's all right, I want to do this, I'm going to do this, we need to get this done. And it's just a lot more.
Yeah. And plus,
my own.
Yeah, and plus too, like, suppose one of your employees had a DUI, you probably wouldn't even know about it, right? Where in the military, you probably know within a matter of minutes.
That's right.
So had a DUI. It's your fault. What are you gonna do about it? Let me see all your PowerPoint presentations on not driving DUI. For the last 2 years.
Yeah, checks on checks. Yeah. There's a lot of that.
So your company is it an LLC?
Yes.
And have you like bootstrapped the whole thing? Take on any investment from anyone? It's all like been you on your own so much?
No, it's So we have strategic partnerships with that to help grow. It's, and then just our internal growth has helped support us.
So is the plan like to pass it on to like your kids, or that still hasn't been made yet?
Yeah, I haven't. To me, I'm still in
your prime.
Let's get this growing, and let's continue to see how many vets we could help. That's what, honestly, that really gets me excited. It's like, oh yeah, like we have 4 divisions now, and in our workforce group, we're looking to expand into other industries. So we're helping with energy, utility. We're looking to help in the tech industry, because I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, like in the military, there's every skill set you could think of, right? So we want to provide opportunities to all those skill sets versus just a select group of people. So that's really what I'm thinking about now. So like exit strategy.
Okay.
I'm not really thinking about.
So this old article, the Army Times article, like back in 2014, 2015, 2016, basically said, I'll make this number up, like 75% of veterans who get out and get a job, like 2 jobs in 2 years, right? So I'm pretty sure that's still the same way. Like when people ask people for advice, I always tell them, hey, if you can, take a break, right? I think too many veterans, I know a lot of people, the veterans are like, oh, I'm getting out in a year, let me buy a house, or let me buy a car. Not realizing that not only is your pay get cut by 50%, it's actually 75% because you lose all your housing, right?
That's right.
And so you got to take this bullshit job that you don't like, and you got to suffer through it, and you end up quitting or getting fired and get to take another BS job, right? So yeah, it's just I think it's a challenge.
Yeah, and that's a big part of what we provide, is kind of that liaison service. So we're talking to vets, in their TAPS class. So our vector teams go on to different TAPS classes around the country, and being able to talk to them that say, hey, here's what your career could look like, right? Because when you're in the military, it's like, okay, every 2 years I'm going to get a promotion if I, don't screw anything up, and I'll be here, and I'll be here in 5 years, and I'll be here. And so our mindset's like, okay, well, what do I got to do to get to that next spot? So veterans, they want to know what that career path is. So I get out, I work in craft control. What does that look like? I get out, I work in excavation. What does that look like? And so we put those career paths in place, and we communicate them before they actually get out. And it's a liaison on both sides, right? So it's like talking to the companies that we work with that say, hey, here's what the vet's going to bring from day one. Here's what skills that they have. Here's what, they can provide, and getting them to understand that. And here's what they're coming with from, an experience standpoint, a mental standpoint, whatever it may be. Right. And then here's all these services that we could provide the vets that they have from a VA standpoint, from all that stuff. But I mean, you got out, like the VA has loans, the VA has, all these support services, but it's like, no one explains it to you. It's like, yep, here it is. Okay, how do I get a VA loan? How do I do that? And it's, how do I use my GI Bill? How do I use that? Right. So we provide those communications to the vets as they're getting out to help them out, because there's no instruction booklet, right? It's like, here's all these services that the country's giving you, but how do I do, we even help, family members, if someone passes away and they had service, funeral services and all that kind of stuff, or transitioning benefits, and there's all those things. And it's kind of, and then we educate the companies that we work with too. And so they could help provide those benefits and those liaison terms. And so it really, it should be a puzzle piece, right? Like the biggest shortfall for all these companies is workforce. I need great workers. I need great employees. And then there's this huge pipeline of great workforce that's coming out. We should be able to make that puzzle piece fit. And that's really what we're just trying to do, is provide that translation, provide that translation of what they do.
Like you said, you think about it, you pair a 22-year-old right out of college, probably some like desk job, entry-level job. A 22-year-old second lieutenant in the Air Force is going to work, overseeing like 25, 30 people, millions of dollars of equipment, on and on and on, right? To me, it's not even close.
That's right. It's it's like night and day. And then, but you talk to like, a civilian recruiter, and they're like, an 06 that's commands 2,000 people and, a $500 million budget. They're like, oh, they don't have the experience, and, this. And
you're like, what?
Yeah, they do.
What?
They have experience. You need someone to lead this, right? And so they can lead that. They can lead, the nuances of whatever, skill that, or whatever product, whatever service that they're providing, they can learn that. But the company needs leaders to take something from here and take it there. And a lot of the military has that.
Yeah, it's like that disconnect has been there forever, right?
It is.
I don't know how to fix it. Besides
we're
people like
trying,
you,
we're trying, yeah.
So then there's something called there's like some kind of award. You got another award, like you were like number 7 of the Vet 100 awards.
Vet 100, yeah. We just had that celebration. That was last week in Washington, D.C. They did the Vet 100 awards, and so it's the top 100 fastest growing veteran-owned businesses for 2021. So we were number 7 in terms of growth. So that was exciting.
So how do you find out about the opportunities, like the medallion one, this one? How do you find out about all those opportunities?
A lot of it's like, communications come to us just because, some of the different groups we're a part of, some of the different networks we're a part of, we hear about it. Our business development, our strategy divisions, they're always on top of all that kind of stuff.
So how do you deal with that thing? Of course, most veterans are great, but there are some veterans, I think, when they get out, they're so used to being told what to do, like, I got to be here this time. I work from 9 to 11, the government moves me everywhere. Everything's done for me, right? And they have like I won't say they have no initiative, but like they're just,
right. They're waiting.
Yeah.
They're waiting to be told.
How do you say, hey, no, you're empowered now? I need for you to do this. How do you go through that?
Yeah, and I kind of alluded to that a little bit. Like different people have different skill sets. Some are like go-getters. All right, give me the next thing. Oh, if I finish my job, I'm going to grab a broom and start sweeping the warehouse. Right? There's those types of people, and a lot of times they'll, move up. But there are employees that it's like you need to tell them exactly what to do. You tell them exactly what to do, and they'll go do that, and they'll do it great. And so it's finding like what the right role is, and communicating with them. Like, here's what you're going to do, and learning about each of those employees, because again, I think everybody has something to offer, right? So it's like, what are they good at? Go put them in that position. And yeah, a lot of the military, they're waiting, even like senior levels that come out that we hire. It's kind of like they're waiting for approval, or they're waiting, okay, I'm going to make this decision, but I need another layer of approval to make that decision. A lot of times it's like, no, there's your inline, go get it. And as long as it's legal, I don't care how you go get it. As long as it's legal and you're not wasting money, go get it. And so sometimes you have to give that nudge, because they're used to bureaucracy of all these, decision points that have to be made before they could do anything. And that's definitely not the case. So yeah, you're right in that sometimes they come out and they're just, can I make this decision or not? Or do I need more approval?
I can do this.
Hey, as long as you get to that end line, you're good. Just as long as you do it legally and within our budget, go do whatever you want. Right.
So next, talk about this. So I remember when I get out, there was like a lot of like colonels, sergeant majors, like senior ranking people. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get a job easily. I'll be VP or whatever, this department. And they got humbled pretty fast, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk about, of course, like I say, like if you're like a full-blown colonel doing HR, you maybe shouldn't apply for VP of HR Microsoft. But then again, you shouldn't expect to get like an HR clerk job either, right?
No,
Can you talk about like being realistic and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So it's, I mean, I kind of had this happen to me too, because I mean, when I got out in 2007, I was a young captain, and I was like thinking I was a superstar, I was like managed, hundreds of millions of dollars and, projects and, supervise these people. And yeah, I should easily get this job. And you hear stories and, oh, this guy's making whatever out here, this guy's doing this, or so you just think I automatically, I'm going to easily get a job. Right. And, it's, and then you learn like some people interview better, some people don't. And you think like, oh, I'm just going to go, they're going to see what I did. And yeah, just hire me. And it was, I had to learn to be a better, interviewer, because I came out and I was like, yep, I'm great. What else do you need to know? And it was like, oh,
here's my resume.
We don't understand. Yeah. It's like, didn't you see it on the paper? That kind of thing. And so there is a lot of that training and it's really kind of setting your ego aside, because yeah, you do have the skills to offer, and it's really learning how to share what your capabilities are without assuming that the people know how great you were. Right. So you are great, right? And you're a colonel, you're a 1-star, whatever it may be. You had to do some great things to get to that position, and that are very translatable. But it's understanding that the person that or the company that you're going to go try to work for doesn't necessarily know that. So it's learning how to communicate that. And yeah, it's a lot of times getting help or tempering your expectations from day one, right? And just kind of learning. And then, it's talk to the people that have done it, and that's a big part. We work with Hiring Our Heroes, which is an awesome program where, we will hire, an officer that's getting out within 90 days. So the last 90 days that they're on station, we'll hire them as kind of like an internship, let them kind of see how the business works. And then in the 90 days, we have a decision either to hire them or not, or they could, interview with the other Hiring Our Heroes companies there. And it's a great opportunity. So there's tons of stuff like that. And then you going into those types of things, you kind of see, okay, that's another thing is like the pace of a lot of like the civilian companies is a lot faster than what you see within the military, where it's like making a decision. I mean, in combat, field combat, that's all different. But like the normal pace of the military, it's like, like they always say, steering a tank. It's hard to make that quick turn. Whereas in the company, it's like, yeah, we're moving. We got to go. We can't wait, to make these decisions. So that's another kind of learning environment there, where it's you come aboard and you're like on this rocket ship.
So what's your advice to like military veterans like about to get out in the next few months?
Talk to as many people that have done it. Talk to different companies. I mean, Vector has a bunch of people to talk to. Look at different programs like Hiring Our Heroes, because that program does a lot of the connective tissue, right? So, it's finding the right companies. It's doing your research. Don't wait. Like, you're going to get out in 18 months usually, right? So don't wait till TAPS class, 1 month before you're going to get out to start doing all this stuff, because there's a lot of opportunity. So the biggest advice is start early from when you're getting out, and doing your research and talk to whoever. I mean, everybody wants to help, right? And it's just giving yourself that avenue to get that help, and being able to listen.
In Vector, your headquarters in the state of Washington?
We're actually moving our headquarters to Denver. We're actually headquartered now in Illinois, but we're moving our headquarters to Denver.
And then your headquarters in Denver, does each state have like its own headquarters too, or every?
Yeah, we kind of have centralized, not centralized, but we have usually a hub within the states we're working in.
So if you go back in time, what advice would you give yourself first starting off as an entrepreneur?
I would say be patient and trust your instincts. Trust your instincts more, be patient, and make sure that you pick the right partners. Don't trust everybody.
Yeah, that's a hard lesson to learn for most people, to include me. Everyone's not your friend,
That's right.
I just saw this like it's like there's like all these coaches now, right? Like I know a lot of my peers, like they say, man, I get at least 10 LinkedIn messages from a random coach, can I connect with you? Within seconds later,
yeah,
life
coaches,
I like
physical fitness coach.
I just connected with you. How are you gonna make me better, right?
Yeah.
It just like drives me batshit crazy, right?
It's like getting to know people, man. It's taking the time to get to know people, for sure. And I would say some more advice is, network. Like that, everybody hates that word because it feels uncomfortable. Like, what does that mean? I just gotta go cold call people or reach. It's really just, especially in the military, that's a huge benefit, right? Your military career, you touch all these people, right? And all these people have all these experiences, and it's a brotherhood. It's a camaraderie. It's an automatic network that you have, whether it's in the Army, the Air Force. You're stationed with a bunch of these people, and some of them have moved on, some of haven't. Just maintain that network. It's really important, and it's something that civilians don't necessarily have, right? You go to college and you kind of build out a network of people you went to college with. Well, the military is how many people, right? And you kind of always have that connection, open door. Hey, you were in the Army, I was in it. Hey, you were in the military, I was in the military too. That's an easy kind of icebreaker for anything. And just remember that, and maintain that network of people and met, and I mean that's very helpful with business. Or
Not only that, like how many careers, like I'm in the military, I there's at least hundreds of cities I can go. Hey, I'm taking a trip to Miami. I know so-and-so here, hey, right. John, Bob, I'm going to Miami for a couple of days. You want to link up,
That's
like
right.
Most people can do that, I don't think.
Yeah. And it's, and the other good thing with the military that we see is they're used to moving around, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a benefit, so if you're willing to go somewhere, that's helpful for companies, right? Because it makes you a lot more flexible. A lot of people are like, nope, I'm only going to work here, and so that's helpful, because like, hey, this guy's used to moving every 3 years. Not that we're going to do that, but it's like,
but it's an
hey,
opportunity for
it's an
promotion and
opportunity.
advancement, you
That's
know?
right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's an opportunity.
So next, for your company, in 20, any plans on growth anytime soon?
We're always, continuing to grow. Yeah, we see growth. We're in a lot of the infrastructure space. We all our operational divisions, our 3 operational divisions, are ancillary construction services. So, when they're putting fiber in the ground, when they're putting electrical in the ground, we're putting gas in the ground, we're providing the support services for that construction work that they're doing. And that's going on. I mean, they're putting 5G in everywhere. There's federal requirements to update all the gas infrastructure, all the electrical infrastructure from, when they put it in 50, 100 years ago, right? They need to update that. And so we're a big part of that. And so we see growth along those lines within the energy industry as a whole, and going solar and wind and all that stuff. We kind of touch points on that.
So tomorrow, how do you make sure like you focus on priorities 1 and 2 versus jumping to priority number 37?
We do, yeah, and that takes the team, right? And that takes the team, and that takes the communication on, okay, what do we need? What decision needs? It's really based off like our decision matrix, kind of what decision needs to happen today, what decision can wait. And so we kind of prioritize it that way. And then we allow time for, the fires that pop up here and there. And so it really takes, organization and your time really kind of planned out. So you got to plan out for the unknowns too. So, it's like you look at your calendar, it's like you got every hour is taken up, but you have hours in there as a buffer to be able to manage the stuff that is going to pop up that you're not planning for. But it's really decision trees on decisions that need to be made versus what can wait. And that's kind of how we prioritize it.
So Josh, what do you do for fun?
Oh man. So I play, basketball, pick up basketball. I coach. We do a lot of hiking, a lot of the outdoors here in Washington. We snowboard, like doing that. So we usually always have an epic pass. It's been bad with Whistler being closed with COVID and everything, but I do a lot of stuff outdoors for sure. Go hunting.
And then like, of course you're busy doing a lot of stuff, but how do you make sure you take care of yourself? Like, how do you take care of your wellness?
Well, I think the most important thing is exercise, like physical fitness, like getting out, like, because like I really believe it affects me mentally. Like I always tell my kids, I'm like, a body in motion stays in motion, body at rest stays at rest. Like you forget to exercise, you're sitting on the couch, it's going to be hard to actually get up and do that. But if you're exercising, you plan out, you make sure you're doing that, something physically active, and you feel bad when you don't do it. So then you're kind of, you have to plan it out, because like, I got to get this done, otherwise I feel bad if I don't. So it's kind of keeping that consistency, and that does get difficult. I've had like ups and downs, especially like as your travel schedule. But what I've learned is, getting groups of people like bought in with you, so you hold each other accountable. So it's like, hey, I'm gonna, let's set a goal of we have to work out 30 minutes every day, and we have to check in on each other every day or something like that. Or doing different competitions or whatever it is. It's just, setting those goals and making sure every day I'm going to carve this out, whether it's, going on a long walk or doing strength in a hotel, when I'm there, making sure I have that time locked out. Sometimes it's got to be early in the morning, but I'm not going to go to bed without doing something, physical. And that's a big part of, really keeping me balanced a little bit. But yeah, big part of it.
Yeah, that's always been a challenge for me. Like whenever I go to the gym, I feel so much better in the
Yeah,
day.
you do.
Feel so much better, but then like, man, the
And
self-doubt comes.
it's like, all right, I gotta take the step to
Yeah.
go do it, and then or it's just like start putting on your shoes, and then
Yep.
and then
The other part of
next
the
thing
other
you know, you're done.
other part of brain comes and says, can you really afford like drive 10 minutes to gym, 30 minutes to gym? Can you really afford an hour a day?
Yeah.
Got other stuff going on, like be quiet. I got to go to this,
Yeah, you gotta set it up. Or, I mean, that's the other thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be the gym too. It
Yeah, it
could
could be
just be
anything.
push up, setups, whatever that you can. You land late and you go to a hotel room and doing your push-ups, whatever it may be. It's just
Something.
making sure you do it right, and holding yourself accountable, and having other people that could hold you accountable. That's always helpful. And it makes it fun too.
For your company, I'm going to presume you have lots of KPIs to track. Like, how do y'all decide what KPIs to track? What KPI are they the same all the time? Or do they change? Like, how do you decide the KPIs?
Yeah, I mean, we have ones, I've talked about before, but we're in operations, right? So safety's like our number one core value, making sure people get home to their families, making sure they're not getting hurt or anything like that. And so we have a lot of KPIs on that, but those are reactive, right? So it's like, okay, we, at the end of the month, we had one incident. And so our, one of our safety scores, our TRIR is this, right? So we need to fix that going forward. But what we're starting, and then we have financial KPIs, stuff, all that kind of stuff. But what we're starting to try to do is be a little more proactive on what hey, how many audits do we do in the field? How many JHAs do we, so then you could see, okay, our guys are doing what they know what they're supposed to be doing. And we could track that data point and say, these guys are slacking on those details. So we know an incident's probably going to happen unless we change it now. So we're trying to be more proactive on what things we're tracking, and using those performance indicators, leading indicators versus those lagging indicators that we track all the time. So we're really trying to get into those leading indicators, just to be a lot more proactive instead of reacting to some of that stuff.
And does someone from some kind of agency come and pick you off for safe like once a month or once a year or something?
We have our own safety department, so that's, and they don't report to operations, right? So they're almost like a third party to operations, where they're like, hey, these are, whether it's a new hard hat, a new glove, a new PPE that we got to use, or that's come down to help things out, roll those out, or it's a different procedure, or we got to update our procedure, whatever it may be. That safety department's doing that. But they also are like a third party check. Hey, we'll go out in the field and make sure you're doing X, Y, Z to maintain safety for that whole team. So they'll do all that kind of stuff. But and then there's the OSHAs, those types of agencies that we're responsible to, and stuff in that part too.
So how do you do this? I think some entrepreneurs, they say they work 7 days a week, 7 days a week, 80 hours a week. Some people only work Monday through Friday. How do you do your schedule? Is it pretty much the same all the time, or it changes up depending on travel and other things?
It changes up, but I'm always on somewhat,
Yeah.
right? I always have that phone, which is bad. I like to take those vacations where the phone doesn't work sometimes, right? And so you need that, but most of the time I'm always on, essentially. If I'm with my family, I'm not going to answer anything, or I'm not going to do anything. But I don't want to let it, like, I'm not the type of person to like let it build up, because that's stressing me out in the background. I'd rather, answer a question here or there or something like that. I do have downtime, at night where I'm not going to do anything, but it's kind of up and down. I just make sure, any part of my day, I'm going to, have some dedication to myself, whether it's that with my family, whether it's, friends or whatever it may be. It's just not with work, right? So I'm focused on that. So maintain that balance. But yeah, sometimes you're flying, all day, and you land and you're working all day, and then you fly home, and then it might be, hey, I'm taking half a day to spend with the family the following day. So it's just maintaining that balance so you're not losing any traction with who you're focused on.
So your company, of course, it can be remote work. Kind of a lot of remote work's a big thing right now. What's your take on remote work? Of course, you can't do it now. Like
we can't. We do. I mean, a lot of our workforce solutions. So we have 4 divisions. We have workforce solutions. Then we have hydrovac excavation. We have traffic control. And we have inspection services. So our workforce solutions is really like recruiting and staff. That's really like we hire vets and we put them to work with other companies or internally. And so that, yeah, we have recruiters and we have, HR all over, and they're kind of remote.
So with that, you didn't, like, no one said to you, hey, they can't be remote because it's unfair to the unremote workers and nothing like that.
No, because they can. I mean, they don't have to. They're pretty much on the phone on the computer, and then we'll do collaborative meetings where we'll fly people in together, once a month, or depending on what division it is. And then we also, all the different managers of the different groups, they're all over the place, right? So we still have to. So it's kind of considered remote. Like this manager, managing the Northeast is kind of remote from our manager managing the Southeast, but they're doing the same work, right? So they might run into something or see something happen in the Northeast, and we want to make sure that's communicated to our other divisions, right? So there is that collaborative part of it where it's like we have to get together, and that's why I travel so much, because I do believe face to face you're going to get a lot more done than trying to be on the even being on a Zoom call. It's just you don't have that you don't have the body language part that helps make communication a lot more efficient, right? So I believe we too try to get together and have face-to-face meetings whenever we can, whether different groups, just to make sure those silos aren't enclosed too much.
Yeah, Josh, you already talked about your company some, but can you go like more detail, like what y'all do, how the company got started, what you focus on now, and what you see the future for the company being?
Yeah, so I mean, our vision, I talked about our vision a little bit. So our vision is providing veterans opportunity in the energy industry. It's pretty vague, but it's open to, that's what we want to do. We want to help vets. We're a big part of this industry, and there's a big opportunity. There's a lot of opportunities for veterans in this industry, and we want to be the liaison for that. So that's kind of how it started. And so when I got out of the off active duty, I went and worked with the telecommunications company. So I got into that utility kind of business, and there's a lot of opportunities with that where we brought in veterans and trained them on different aspects. So there's a part of that in my first civilian job where I was doing. Then I got into consulting a little bit, and I worked on corporate social responsibility. I worked on workforce solutions. I did all that kind of stuff. So right before starting Vector, I saw this opportunity of, hey, there's this need of a diverse workforce in the energy and utility industry. And then from my background is like, there's this huge supply of workforce that's coming out of the, transitioning out of the military every month, and that are looking for positions. So that's really how the company started, where it's like, hey, let's try to bring these guys out and train them into these different roles. So we started out as like, hey, we'll bring these veterans on, train them, and put them into roles with these different partners that we started out with. And then we morphed from there, where we didn't necessarily have to do training in order to get them on board. It was better to hire them directly, put them on the job, and do on-the-job training. So then we were recruiting, staffing, and then when we went out to a construction site, all these partners we were working with, where they're constructing these pipelines, they're constructing, these fiber networks, all these types of things. All the ancillary support services you see, they're paying, these other companies to do. And it's like, hey, we could do that and put veterans into those spots. So you go out and you see traffic control, and you see an aerial truck working on a power line. That traffic control is an ancillary service. Or you go out and they have to, open the road and excavate you know, that road. That's a different company that's excavating that road. Or we'll do potholing to put in power poles, you know, where they use vacuum trucks to pothole. So that was another ancillary service. And then we do inspection services where we're inspecting utilities that are being replaced to make sure that, you know, there's no gas lines not going through a sewer line and stuff like that. So those are different construction opportunities that we saw, that we said, hey, here's places that vets could work and build out their careers. So we started those different operations to say, hey, let's put vets here, and we'll continue our workforce and recruit for, you know, different jobs that might not necessarily be within Vector, but we could put them with our other partners. So it's kind of grown from there. So going forward, I see, you know, there's other, it's continuing to grow those divisions because, you know, the hydrovac excavation is a big opportunity from a safety standpoint. You don't want to damage other utilities when you're digging in the ground. So a lot of municipalities don't want to put shovels into the ground, and so they use hydrovac excavation where it's like a vacuum sucking up rock versus, you know, chopping down into things. So that's a big opportunity. Traffic control is, you know, growing. You see it, you don't really think about it, but it's a big need, because as we build out this infrastructure, we update our infrastructure, we got to control.
Hopefully we update it, right?
Yeah, that's right. Hopefully update this infrastructure. We got to manage that safety on the street. So there's a big part of that. And there's opportunities to increase safety on the streets and like the setups we have. And so we're a big part of that. But then, you know, other services that we might get into that we're looking at. And then on the workforce side, you know, we're really focused on the construction, utility construction, energy industry, but you know, we're working with companies to hire pilots. We're working with companies to hire medical personnel coming out of the military and putting them into hospitals or VA type work, and those types of things that we're looking at to continue to grow.
Are you going to be adding any more divisions in the future?
Potentially, we might. Yeah, if it's a completely set, we're always looking at those types of things, either organically growing or acquisition, stuff like that. You know, what we want to do from that ancillary construction side.
So you're doing a lot of great things for veterans, which is great. But sometimes the thing seems like a lot of stuff you're doing, the government should be doing, right? You ever think about that? Like, hey, I'm taking this on as of course, it goes back to your servitude attitude. Do you ever sometimes, man, you know, I could be doing, you know, I won't say better things, but I'm more focused on my business versus like helping veterans out. The government should be doing this, or a nonprofit or something like that.
No, because yeah, I could see where you're coming from, but I mean, that's a big part of our motivation, and it's a big part of our culture, right? And so, I mean, 70% of I think it's 75% of our executive leadership is all veterans. So, you know, we all kind of see that, and we see the benefits of helping these veterans out and how it's helped our company grow, both from the quality that they bring and the work that we're doing, the discipline that they bring on the processes that we have in place, all that kind of stuff. And so that vision is beneficial to our business. It's not we do this or we do that. It's kind of, you know, providing this service and having that attitude that we are going to serve these people, and then trusting that by doing that, they're going to serve us and, you know, being great employees for this business and helping it grow. And so that's kind of how I see it. I don't see it as a frustration. The only thing I see is I told you about, where like we do this liaison type services where we'll actually talk to the VA, you know, a lot of times for our employees, or, you know, for family members of employees or whatever it is, you know, to help with these services. And that's still frustrating, right? I mean, it's dealing with the VA still. There's a lot of work that can be done with that. And, you know, even with the resources we have, it's still not as helpful as it can be.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it, but you know, being able to provide those services, being able to help vets in that way, I don't see it as counterintuitive to our business.
So you're saying that, like, instead of looking at it like, you know, do the business or help vets, it's help do the business and help vets.
That's right.
It's or right. And instead of or.
Yes, absolutely.
So next, I should have mentioned this earlier, but let's talk about military spouses too. I don't think most people realize, like, you know, most military spouses, like, you know, have college degrees, but they work BS jobs like, clerks, cashiers.
Yeah.
And the number could be wrong, but I think that they always have the highest demographic unemployment rate, like 20% unemployment, and then probably like double underemployment rate. Can you just talk about the challenges that military spouses have?
Yeah. I'm glad you bring that up, because we're focused on that now. And I mean, we've actually kind of written our vision a little bit to, say we help veterans, veteran spouses, family of veterans, to, include all that, because I mean, when any veteran, they have a support system, right? And so, and the general public's like, oh, this guy's a veteran, and they, that support structure is blurred out behind it. But that veteran's wasn't able to serve their country the way they were without a supporting spouse, and so part of that HOH program we're doing, has, spouse support too. So military spouses can be a part of that. And we're part of our interviews are just, military spouses. Hey, what can you provide? And here's our opportunities too. But yeah, they get left out from, even from a marketing standpoint, because it's like, hey, you don't hear, it's starting to change a little bit, but you don't hear like, oh, I'm a veteran friendly. It's not like, oh, I'm a military or veteran spouse friendly company, or, hey, we help, military spouses. You're starting to hear that more, but they're, the backbone, a lot of times the linchpin of that veteran and what he's been able to do in service to his country. And so she's getting out of the military and is trying to get a new job. Well, that spouse is also getting out of the military, and they need just as much help. So, there's a lot of the same programs we're piggybacking on. With Vector, that's those military spouses have just as much opportunity as any veteran out there, for sure. But yeah, it's a great point, because, and I think people are starting to understand it a little bit more. I've seen like just a cultural change a little bit in the general public, but yeah, I mean, it should be more of a focal point.
Yeah, it would always keep me like being in the military. Like you see a military spouse apply for a job, she's qualified, and the company would say, well, I can't hire you because I know you're going to leave in 2 years.
Yeah.
So
right.
so you're telling me you would either hire someone with less talent who's going to stay for 5 years,
Right.
and then hire a high quality person for 2 years?
Yeah. And you never know, like you can't predict. So it's hard. And it's that communication. It's like educating the right people on, what the capabilities are and what those experiences mean. Right. Because, you put anybody in position that's like, all right, this guy's been to combat and he's made decisions under this type of environment, and then he could easily make decisions in this environment. It's kind of like relaying that information, and helping them understand. And that's that communication, that liaison.
Yeah, like how many times military spouses have pretty much had to move their house by themselves, right?
That's right.
Because the spouse is deployed or like at a school or whatever,
Yeah, all that, everything.
They're called household six for a reason, right?
That's right. That's right. And yeah, I mean, and they're qualified, and they've a lot of times, made the ultimate service where they're, giving up some of what they wanted to do just to support that.
I know so many spouses, like their husband or spouse did 20 years. And so they're like, in their 40s, never had a real job. They're trying to get in the market, and all these, recruiters, what have you done the last 20 years? Cause they want to hear like you was a FRG volunteer or whatever the case may be, right?
Or you planned all these events, or you coordinated all these, situations, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And it's true. It's putting that, those tangibles out there and showing, what these capabilities really are.
So Josh, is there anything I should ask you that I haven't, or anything else you want to talk about?
No, I mean, I really appreciate the time. I think it's just exciting to see the opportunities out there. And I think the general public, we kind of see like Memorial Day, we have Veterans Day, even 4th of July, we're like, oh yeah, thanks for all these vets. But, there's 360 days throughout the year where these vets are,
still need help,
that
still
support,
need assistance,
need that support. And I know at Vector, and being able to provide those opportunities, be able to talk to people like you, about that stuff. Excited about those opportunities going forward.
So Josh, can you share your social media for yourself, your company, and also for if you have something separate for the Air Force Liaison and any like veterans programs, you know?
Yeah. So hiring our heroes, that's one of the programs that we work with the military, where it provides transitioning military members opportunities. Warrior Team Bravo's one of the veteran groups within Vector and a bunch of our strategic partnerships. That's a group of veterans and friends of veterans, spouses of veterans that are employees within this group, but also we bring in people to talk to them, and so I could get that information out. VectorFD.com. That's you'll see all the jobs we got out there, what we're doing. All our social media is attached through that, so you can see that. But so it's VectorFD.com. You go there, you'll get all that information.
And to the listeners, we have the links to all of our social media on our show notes. The show notes at www.cabinetshblock.com. Be sure to share this episode with your friends and network, and subscribe, rate, and review the Jason Cabinets Experience at your favorite platform. So one last question. You live in Woodinville, right?
Yep.
I don't know how many people know this, but Woodinville actually has a pretty good wine.
Great wine.
Great wine.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the wine and all that kind of stuff there real fast?
Yeah. So it's and we're this September, I think we're going to have actually one of our executive conferences out here for Vector, first time in Woodinville, just because they got I don't know how many like wineries out there, but I mean, you can walk everywhere. They got great restaurants and Chateau St. Michel's out there doing concerts and everything. So great part of Washington.
Yeah, I don't think most people know about that.
Yeah, that is untouched a little bit. So, but great place to go.
And do you ever go to the I think called the Woodinville whiskey?
Yeah. And there's a few distilleries out there.
Okay.
So yeah,
great check
place.
those out.
You can walk everywhere, which is great. So yeah, good time.
Nice. Hey Josh, thanks for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, actually, I forgot to ask you one more question. The last question I always ask is, I know you already gave a lot of great advice, but can you give any like last minute advice or wisdom or anything you want to talk about?
I would say, if you're a veteran out there that's needs help, reach out. And if you're someone that knows a veteran out there that needs help, don't wait, reach out. I know a lot of people sometimes have hard times, and just make sure you're reaching out to the right people. Don't wait.
So Josh, follow-up question with that. Like so many people in general need help, some veterans need help. And they all say, I'll ask for help. But ego gets in the way, pride gets in the way, right? How do we put your ego aside, take your pride aside. Like if you need help, no one's gonna really know unless you ask for help, right? How do we do that? Or is there a way to even do that?
Yeah, and I think it's a mental health idea as a whole, right? I mean, from when I first started in the military to now, I mean, you probably experienced it, whereas just toughen up.
Yeah,
there was no mental health. It was like you're tough or you're not.
You're depressed. Here's extra duty. You really be depressed now.
That's right. And now it's I've had talked to commanders and high level leaders where they're like, hey, I'm going to go talk to my therapist or whatever it may be, and that's a huge deal. It's like there's health, and mental health is a part of that. Like you break an ankle, you're out. You need help. You're a little bit depressed, you could be out. So it's like, talk to someone. You're going to go to a doctor if you're not feeling good. Make sure you talk to someone, and everybody has their ups and downs, and it's understand that everybody goes through it, right?
Yeah, it's not unicorns and rainbows every day, right?
That's right. So it's just have the courage to talk to people.
Josh, thanks for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you for your time as well. Remember to be great every day.